Set sail on a cruise of a lifetime with Brightstar Credit Union. Deposit $20,000 or more into a savings or checking account to receive a 5-day, 4-night cruise vacation for two. Travel to beautiful destinations in Mexico, the Bahamas, or the Western Caribbean. Choose from over 175 dates and itineraries. Learn more at bscu.org/trip. Get ready to set sail on a free cruise. Membership eligibility required. Terms and conditions apply for cruise promotion. Federally insured by NCUA. Business accounts are not eligible. Direct deposit required for eligibility. Brightstar Credit Union is not responsible for your safety on board or in any port of call.
At Gordon and Partners, we've been helping Floridians recover physically and emotionally after accidents for over 30 years. The time for your free case review is now, so visit fortheinjured.com or call 754-333-3333. From distracted driving to faulty vehicles, auto accidents can occur for countless reasons. Let us take care of everything, including your car. And remember, we don't get paid unless you do. Gordon and Partners, fortheinjured.com. Offices, Plantation.
Welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry, a podcast covering the Miami Dolphins and the NFL. Now, here's your hosts, Chris, Alf, and Simon.
And we're on, and this is another losing edition of 3 Yards Per Carry. We're back to our losing ways after a win and a bye week. I'm Alfredo Arteaga. Simon Clancy is back. Chris Kaufman is here. And as always, this show is brought to you by Thompson Cigars. Go to thompsoncigars.com, use the promo code 3YARDS, that's the number 3 yards, and you get 20% off your order of $75 or more, or 25% off your order of $100 or more. That's thompsoncigars.com. All right, we're going to get into it right away. They found a new way to lose in this one. This one, they managed to run a game plan precisely how everybody had drawn it up. Essentially, just get out of the way of Anthony Richardson doing anything because their offense is not very good. They're missing their best player, and they're really not going to threaten you too much. You tend to trust your defense a little bit, so just run the football, take the air out of the football, kick a bunch of field goals, get out of there, win by a touchdown. But we forgot that you can fumble at your own 25-yard line, and you can fumble at the 13-yard line going in. And those two were absolutely crucial. The quarterback play was horrendous, as seen on film. Simon, this game, wow, they really found a way to blow a game this time.
I mean, it's hard. You have to really try hard to lose to Anthony Richardson as well. So, I mean, I give them kudos for that. Look, somebody messaged me on Twitter and said, "Oh, I can't wait for your rant," and I just kind of feel like I've just got a new I'm just so don't know. I just, it's 40 years. It's exhausting, isn't it? It's like, it gives me so little pleasure these days that you just kind of think, what am I doing? And I'm not stepping away. I just find it all it just doesn't hold the same value anymore. I think of the hundreds and thousands of hours that I've spent over 40 years being a fan of this team, and you get nothing in return. You get a few highs, but nothing of any note. Like somebody messaged me this morning to go, "Oh mate, you think it's bad being a Dolphins fan? You should be a Jets fan." The Jets have had 6 playoff wins and been to 2 AFC championships since we last won a playoff game. Somebody else messaged me about Washington. "Oh, you should be a Washington fan. 2 playoff wins, 6 playoff appearances, 2 division titles. Be a Raiders fan." Somebody messaged me and said, "You've been to the Super Bowl." In the time that we won a playoff game. So I don't know. Yesterday I just thought it was the second that Indy got back to level pegging, and the second they got ahead, I knew that we were going to lose. That's just the way it was. I thought, again, just that was the game plan you came up with after 2 weeks. After the bye week, I found that astounding. And I will never, ever, ever understand why in the high red zone you give a fullback dive on 1st and 10. I mean, I just don't understand the play call. I don't know if McDaniel was trying to be funny or not funny, but, trying to catch the, Gus Bradley out. I mean, you've moved all the way down the field with Jalen Wright showing why he's the best running back in the draft, and then on 1st down you hand the ball to Alec Ingold. I love Alec Ingold; he's the best fullback in the NFL, but it just made no sense to me. Ingold had one catch and one run, the same number of, in fact, more touches than we got to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You're telling me that we couldn't create any, little slip screens, little flare outs to Hill and Waddle? I found that astonishing. Like, I don't know, it's just tiring, and Tua's coming back, and there's the expectation, but and I think Chris will touch a little bit on this as well. I think we probably share the same view. I don't think everything's going to be rosy in the garden. I thought his press conference today was as chippy and as belligerent as I've seen him ever. And I get that it's his mind and his body. And I said something privately to you two on our WhatsApp group that I'm probably not going to share here because I'll just get hammered for it. But I don't think he came across very well in that. And this whole thing just seems like a big snowball rolling down the hill. And I don't want the coach fired necessarily, but the owner's got to change, the GM's got to change, the window is closing. This is just tiring, man. Chris, tiring? You tired?
Yeah, I would say that I'm tired. Yeah, I think, well, first off, I have to say that a lot of the disappointment that we talk about with this season, sorry about the noise in the background. A lot of the disappointment that we talk about in the season, I already got out of the way pretty much right when Tua got hit against the Bills. I mean, I kind of knew right away how much of the rest of the season was going to go. And so, but that doesn't mean I don't get invested in the game. So I was invested in the game. I was very disappointed in the outcome. I was disappointed in the way that they played. I thought that they could have won the game. I thought that they were on the way to a victory in the game. I thought that the game plan was pretty much going exactly as I would have expected it to, which is to say that, logically, based on the limitations of the quarterback, Tyler Huntley is not a starter in this league. And, you could argue Tyler Huntley is not a starter in this league, period. And he is certainly not a starter quality player for the Dolphins right now, having only just gotten to the team in late September. So I think that you have a situation where you have to have lower expectations, and that goes for the Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill thing. Like, I get they didn't get enough action for people that would have preferred more. But then again, that's not his strength. I said this earlier today. Tyler Huntley has been averaging over 8 yards per attempt in the middle of the field this year, but he's averaging just 4 yards per attempt on the perimeters. And guess who? Your wide receivers are the guys that work the perimeters, and Jonnu Smith is the guy that works the middle. He's the big target. He's the security blanket. We always say this with a tight end that the big tight end, the pass catching tight end is your young quarterback's best friend. He's your security blanket, and that's what Jonnu Smith was going to be. And so they game planned that way. They game planned the running game, and they game planned for Jonnu Smith. And there were opportunities to get the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but Tyler Huntley just didn't take those opportunities. He turned down a lot of those opportunities, or he threw a perfect ball down the sideline to Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill just loses it in the lights. And he has nobody to blame but himself for that. So, a very frustrating game. I think offensively, there's a lot of, there obviously with the turnovers in scoring position, that's a big deal. So I think that this is a game that could have been won. And, unfortunately, it could be costly because the way that this stretch of games played out without Tua Tagovailoa, they probably should have been 3-1 during the 4-game stretch, or maybe even 4-0, just the way that the chips fell. And so to go 1-3 instead, I don't even know if you can recover from that on a full season standpoint. But it has been pointed out that, of the remaining 11 games, most of them are not against winning teams. It's just a fact. The most of the opponents, most of the games for the remainder of the season are against losing teams. So I guess you never really know. We know that the defense is good. And we know that, and so therefore, if the offense, gets its head out of its ass, maybe it's that easy. Maybe the wins come in bunches after that, but I tend not to think it is.
Are you in your car or something?
Yeah, I have to be in my car right now. Actually, there's a kind of a snap. She's she
Yeah.
was supposed to come back from the park,
Okay. Yeah. That's
but
why
she hasn't.
that's why you sound like you're talking to us from outer space. I think we got
Oh, sorry.
we got most of that though. Well, I think we got most of that toward the end. I think our listeners got the gist of it. I think I got the gist of it perfectly. So did Simon, I believe. Simon, to
Okay.
piggyback on what Chris was talking about, uh, yes, I've always felt like when you blow a game, then you got to do something extraordinary down the road. Now, this team in 2 years has not done anything extraordinary. They've just done what's been expected of them, just the bare bones, bare minimum of what's been expected of them. And they've never gone above and beyond. What's going above and beyond? Win a game that you're not favored to win. Can they do that? Probably not. So yeah, they could recover and sneak into the playoffs and lose again in the first round. Like, yeah, that's all a possibility. But once you blow a game like this, you gotta cancel it out by doing something extraordinary. And one thing this team just does and will not do is do anything extraordinary. And they don't get anything extraordinary from any of their players on offense, at least. On defense, you got guys, making plays. You have Kader Kohu making a big play on Anthony Richardson. You have Jalen Ramsey playing like a man possessed. You have guys on defense flying around making plays. Calais Campbell at 1,000 years old looks like he's found the fountain of youth here. On offense, we had Jonnu Smith and Jalen Wright as the guys carrying the entire offense. I submit that that's also a personnel issue to go along with all the obvious issues you have at QB too. Your thoughts on that, Simon?
Yeah, look, I thought multiple things really, because there's kind of multiple questions wrapped in that. But the running game I thought was excellent yesterday. Each had 77 yards. I thought Raheem Mostert played really well for his 50 yards. I know he had the fumble, but he also had about 40 yards called back on penalties. That terrible Durham Smythe holding penalty that was never a penalty, followed the next play by the Liam Eichenberg face mask where he ripped off two big runs. Right, as we talked about, 33 yards on those 5 carries on that drive, which finished with the Alec Ingold fumble. The worst thing about that game, I think, is that you look at the schedule, right? If they'd have managed to go to 3-3 with Tua coming back, and let's say miracle upon miracles that Tua stays healthy for the rest of the season, but the way that the schedule's shaking down, that game and losing that game could be so critical in terms of, I know this sounds ridiculous, people, but it could be so huge in terms of a playoff push. You beat the Cardinals, you've got the Bills on the road, you're probably going to lose that. But then you got a stretch of Rams, Raiders, Patriots. You should go 3-0 there. You got Green Bay, difficult. But then you got the Jets, they're beatable. The Texans, difficult. 49ers are in flux. Brandon Ayuk out today with the ACL. Deebo Samuel out. Talking about Diana Rossini, talking about him possibly being traded. It won't happen now with Ayuk out, but McCaffrey, when's he coming back? And then you finish with Browns and Jets. There are what, 7, 8 winnable games there, and you throw in a victory over the Colts that took you to 3-3 instead of 2-4 as we are. That could be the difference between the Dolphins getting in the playoffs in a pretty average AFC and not getting in the playoffs. And that's what's really difficult to swallow in terms of, some of those, just the performances, the coaching, you look at that Pittsburgh team last night, just what a great all-around coaching job from Mike Tomlin, from Danny Smith on special teams, on defense, etc., etc. You look at the Chiefs, Alf and I were talking about this before we started on air. The Chiefs offense didn't play very well. Defense looks like one of the top defenses of the past 10 years. Spag's doing an amazing job. Dave Taub, the special teams coordinator, doing a great job. And yet here we are 3 years in moaning about Danny Crossman again and poor offensive calls and this, that, and the other on defense. Our best defensive players are an undrafted free agent or a 7th round free agent that we plucked off the Ravens practice squad. Ramsey is playing out of his mind, and 160-year-old Calais Campbell. It's
Yeah. Yeah,
And these
and what I
guys are
really
showing
hate
up
to
to play.
see is wasted efforts. You're
Great
getting
years. Kendall Fuller's having a great year.
Yeah, he's
You know,
playing well. He's playing well. And Cater Kohu, remember when everybody wanted to replace Cater Kohu? He's coming around. He's not playing bad either.
but the
Like they're
offense is just, the offense,
embarrassing.
Hill and Waddle. I mean, the pouty kind of like it's embarrassing. That what else is really annoying is the OBJ thing has not worked out. Berrios done for the season. Craycraft no signs of coming back. They haven't found another knock against Chris Greer is they just did not sort out the third receiver situation. You know, they believe they sorted it out with a massively injury prone Odell Beckham Jr. Had finished one season in 10 years, and it's clearly not working. No catches in the games back. He's missed the first part of the season, missed training camp, etc., etc. And we've seen this film before, and thank God Johnny Smith finally started to show what he'd showed in preseason in training camp, because otherwise the Dolphins wouldn't have been able to move the ball at all. The run game looks all right. I don't have a worry about the run game. There's good players there. That's why. Mostert is a good player. Achan is a good player. Wright is a good player. Ingold is a great fullback. They get some decent blocking, especially on the perimeter. Armstead is playing pretty well. Brewer's playing well. But, man, that if the offense can even get close to the way that the defense is playing, as fucking dumb as it sounds, this team could get somewhere this season. And it pains me to say it, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it'll build us up, and then we'll get punched in the face when we miss out on the last week of the season because we lose to the fucking Jets at home or something, and that will screw our season. But we'll end up with a 15th pick. But you know, nine of the best players have already torn their ACLs or their Achilles this season, so we'll end up with some, you know, chubby defensive tackle who's played 3 games and hadn't, but looks really good in his shorts, that Chris Greer, who stays because the Dolphins almost make the playoffs, ends up taking from Sonoma State, and he ends up, playing 3 years and then flaming out and works in Burger King in some small Oklahoma town. But
That's very, very specific. Do you have the
it's
prospect
very,
already in
very
mind?
specific what he's doing. Very specific. I'm specificity personified this evening. But yeah, I mean, somebody tweeted me today and said,
What
"Oh,
school does this kid play for, by the
it's
way?
Sonoma State, mate. Sonoma
Okay.
State."
All right. Yeah.
And somebody tweeted me today and said, "Oh, I always used to think you were glass too negative, glass half empty." And then he said, "I realized you've been right all along." And I don't actually think that's true. And it's kind of upsetting that people would think that, you know, being negative was actually right. But oh, I don't know. You can kind of see it written in the stars that will come back, because somebody's going to go off massively on offense very soon as well when Tua gets back. One of those receivers is going to have an absolutely monster day.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we'll start to perk up. We'll get back to 4-4. We'll win a couple of games. And it'll be like, oh, they're going to make the playoffs. And then there'll be the spectacular failure.
And then Tua's going to try to run over Rashawn Gary in
Yeah,
Green
there'll be a
Bay.
spectacular failure at the end. We'll miss the
Well,
playoff
that
game. We'll end up with a 17th pick. We'll miss out on the 3 players that we absolutely love, and take the kid from Sonoma State who'll be out of the league in 3
Well, it's
years.
right there. It's staring you in the
Rinse and
face.
repeat.
Like the
Rinse
worst
and repeat.
possible outcome is staring you right in the face, Simon. They play the Jets the last game of the season.
Yeah, exactly. That's what. Yeah, exactly.
So it's staring you in the face.
Yeah,
A
of
Jason
course it is.
Sanders missed 32-yard field goal to send us to the playoffs.
Clang it off the upright
Yeah.
on the 5th of January, and the Jets
well,
will
and
win.
that's really, I mean, you alluded to it. We're sitting on a geyser with respect to the defense if they keep playing the way that they have, or even, God forbid, they even improve, right?
Mm.
Mhm. Well, Bradley Chubb, whenever that happens.
Bradley Chubb is on the way back. At some point, they have some young players in there. They certainly
Whenever
have
Javon
new
Holland
players.
decides he wants to play, also.
Sure, Javon Holland will come back. We have new players, right? New players that haven't played on the Miami team with these other players in Miami. We have players, all of the players. This is their first season in Anthony Weaver's defense. We didn't expect it to we never expected to come together, very quickly under a completely new system, under a completely new coordinator, and yet it kind of has. And so, God forbid we could actually even see improvement across the defense as the season goes on. And that's the geyser that Miami sits on if they could just get their heads out of their asses on offense.
Yeah.
Because then the wins would come in bunches. And as Simon alluded to, the schedule remains favorable for exactly that. Now, of course, there's the luck thing, and there's we're cursed and all of that. And watch all these teams that are losing teams. They finally figure themselves out at the same time, and that we do, and then all of a sudden we're losing games, or the offense gets back on track, but the defense gets off track. And that's very possible. Injuries can strike. Anything can happen. It could be that the defense was looking good against the likes of, hey, they played Mason Rudolph and they played Jacoby Brissett, and they and today or yesterday they played an Anthony Richardson, who frankly we were very honest with ourselves as we were talking to one another during this game. But if they really wanted to win that game, they should have taken Anthony Richardson out. Right. And played Joe Flacco. That was very obvious. And so
there was a point. There was a point in the game where I was watching the game, and I told the person sitting next to me, this game, what it's ripe for is to start the second half with Joe Flacco and take this game away from Miami.
Yeah, and really, we said it when we were talking about. We said that the what may have happened actually is that really weird field goal drive where the defense kind of let something up stupid just before the end of the half and gave them the field goal. That might have actually, in another universe, that might have actually won Miami the game, because it encouraged them about Anthony Richardson and made them keep him in for the rest of the game. And that was clearly not the right call if they truly wanted to win. It just happened to be that Miami wanted the loss more than the Colts wanted the loss. And that's what I think everybody's feeling, and what everybody is getting tired of game after game with the Miami Dolphins this year, is it feels like we're playing these games where both sides really want the loss, Yeah. And we're competing for the loss. And that's a feel thing. And that's the feel of it. And nobody likes that. And so, I get it that the frustrations out there, it's definitely real.
All right. We're going to go to break. Before we do, let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and 2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. Compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. Tonight, by the way, Ravens, Bucks, kind of interesting game. So do with that what you will. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes this football season. Which players are going off, which ones are ice cold. I know who's ice cold on Miami. Make your entries in just a few taps and turn your sports opinions into real money. Alec Ingold yards will be next week. Higher or lower, Simon?
Do not give him the ball under any circumstances as a running back.
That's good advice. Just head on over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code 3YARDS. That's the number 3 yards. And Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code 3 yards to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Join over 5 million fans that are already playing on Underdog. Must be 18 plus, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 19 plus in Alabama, New England, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, 1-800-639-8783, or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. And now for our other sponsors. Thompson Cigar has been America's humidor since 1915, offering the widest array of cigars and cigar accessories at the lowest prices. Known for our innovative ways to save, including exclusive 5-pack deals and many club options, Thompson Cigar is the trusted choice for cigar lovers seeking quality and value. Check out ThompsonCigar.com for incredible deals and become part of the Thompson Loyal. That's THOMPSON cigar.com. You know me. I enjoy a good stick with my football on a Sunday, on a Monday, on a Thursday, and Thompson Cigars is where I do my shopping online. Whether it's a smooth Connecticut in the morning or a Maduro at night, Thompson Cigars has it all. Thompson Cigar has been serving cigar enthusiasts since 1915, making it the oldest mail-order cigar company in the U.S. Get 15% off orders of $50 or more, or 20% off orders of $75 or more. Visit ThompsonCigar.com today and explore their incredible selection of cigars and unbeatable deals. Enjoy up to 20% off orders of your order of $75 or more. That's ThompsonCigar.com and use the promo code 3YARDS, that's the number 3YARDS, at checkout. Discover why Thompson has been America's humidor since 1915 and join the thousands of satisfied customers who trust Thompson Cigars for their quality, value, and exceptional service. ThompsonCigar.com.
They said I had a rare cancer, and my options were few. But Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center gave me access to clinical trials and the breakthrough treatment and expert team I needed for my type of cancer. Only Sylvester gave me exactly what I needed to get me back to my life and loved ones. Learn more at onlysylvester.com.
Injured in an accident and unsure if you have a case? Don't wonder or go it alone. Visit fortheinjured.com for a free case review. I'm Bob Gordon of Gordon Partners, and we understand the confusion, stress, and questions that come with an injury. For over 30 years, we've proudly and successfully been representing injured clients. Don't let doubt hold you back. Visit fortheinjured.com or call 754-333-3333. Gordon Partners, fortheinjured.com, offices Plantation.
Are you a South Florida property owner with an insurance claim? Are you dealing with water, mold, or fire damage to your home or business? Are you having trouble locating a 5-star rated general contractor that is fully licensed, certified, and insured? If the answer is yes, then Water Cleanup of Florida is here for you 24 hours a day. With over 60 years of combined experience, Michael, Robert, Jorge, and their team is prepared to handle any size property damage disaster. When an unexpected damage occurs to your home or business, you need specialized, fast, and reliable services. Water Cleanup of Florida understands the impact and stress an unexpected disaster may cause. Their objective is to make the cleanup and insurance claim process painless and hassle-free. Water Cleanup of Florida is also a licensed general contractor, so they provide the A to Z service, one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and business owners require. Water Cleanup of Florida is now an authorized dealer of Eurocraft cabinets, so premier kitchen, bath, and laundry cabinetry, countertops, and other accessories are available for your viewing at their showroom in Boca Raton. Or do you prefer to shop from your home or office? Then Water Cleanup will send you one of our design specialists to you with samples and products that fit your style and budget. Call Michael anytime on his personal cell phone if you have any questions at 954-579-0356. That's 954-579-0356. Or visit their website at wcufl.com. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. And please check out their more than 80 5-star reviews on Google and Facebook. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts.
I'm Jalen Phillips, and you're listening to 3 Yards Per Carry.
And we're back. All right, let's talk about some of these players. Let's talk about the quarterback position. Why is it not possible for Mike McDaniel to get any other quarterback, not named Tua Tagovailoa, to complete the simplest tasks that everybody else seems to find a quarterback, a backup quarterback, to actually make a play or two. Even backup quarterbacks that we don't think are very good manage to make simple plays, manage to hit wide open people. It's all over the film. And this past game, my God, Tyler Huntley looked like he was like afraid to throw the football. Forget about Skylar Thompson. Skylar Thompson is just not an NFL quarterback. And I have doubts whether he can play in the USFL. But Tyler Huntley has won games in this league before. Tyler Huntley almost beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the playoffs, a year where the Bengals went to the AFC Championship game. Why does every backup quarterback for Miami play so awful, Simon?
Because they are awful.
But all of them are awful? Was Teddy Bridgewater considered awful when he got here?
No. But I think that, and I hate to get back onto specificity, but it is a very niche offense in terms of what it asks the quarterback to do, and the backup only gets so much practice. You know, he, um, McDaniel talked about the thousands of hours that people don't see about the perfect timing. He talked in Frankfurt. I remember he talked to me. I listened to it back the other day. He talked about how the offense is not his scheme. It's a scheme that's tailored very much to the very, very specific things that each individual player does well. And I just think it's very hard to get extremely average players who shouldn't be starting NFL games to do the things that this offense asks it to do. And it's very easy. I know there's going to be people sitting at home shouting at their speakers or shouting at the car going, well, just simplify the offense. But it's not that easy. It isn't that easy to just simplify an offense. What does that actually mean in real terms? What does simplify the offense mean? We're not running nearly as many motions as we were. That's clear. There's very few those kind of looping jet motions. The only real motions we're now seeing are those where Julian Hill or Ingold will motion down into the line of scrimmage to block in the run game. Simplifying the offense does not mean it gets any easier. I mean, the game that we played at home against the Titans was about as JV an offense as was humanly possible to run. It's just that Tyler Huntley is not an NFL quarterback. He was on the street for a reason. He was on Baltimore's practice squad for a reason. I mean, Tim Boyle was a national joke on Black Friday last year after we beat the Jets in New York, and he threw the 100-yard pick to Javon Holland. You know, he's not an NFL quarterback. That it's as simple as that, and it showed up last night. You know, it's not just about throwing the ball to the open man. It's about dealing with the timing. It's about, you know, your foot, the way that you drop to throw is different to the way that Tua drops to throw, in terms of you might be taking longer strides, shorter strides. You might take less time, more time to get back. And if your timing when you hit the back foot and you step up to throw is not the same as Tua's, it means that the timing is different on when the ball comes out as it pertains to the route that's being run. So I just don't think that, you know, it's easy to say McDaniel can't coach other quarterbacks apart from Tua. I don't believe that's true. I think that the talent that he's been handed, and the question is, whose fault is that? Was he the one that said, I'm completely happy with Skylar Thompson? Was it Chris Greer who said, no, Skylar looks great in this system. We're going to keep him because we drafted him and we want to develop him? I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's more in depth than just saying McDaniel can't coach up another quarterback that isn't Tua.
Well,
The
Tua
biggest
and his availability today had a great quote on that of which you speak, the footwork. He said, listen, I think it's really tough to ask any of our quarterbacks to come in to do the footwork that we've been doing for the past 2 years, to see fast guys running and seeing the space. And trust me, there was a lot of space that they were running into that's there, and asking them to kind of process all of that. We looked at film, we were able to see what we missed and what we could have gotten better with. But it's a team sport. It shouldn't take one position for this whole thing to crumble. It's just a hell of a quote. Everybody needs to be on their P's and Q's as well. Chris, can you explain it? I think Simon did a fabulous job of explaining it.
Yeah, but I think I can be even a little bit more reductive, as you know, reducing it down to one thing, which is health. None of the backup quarterbacks that they've had in the last 3 years have been able to stay, for one reason or another, have been able to stay on the field. Skylar Thompson is somehow even more injury prone than Tua Tagovailoa, even more injury prone than Anthony Richardson, the guy that the Dolphins just played this weekend. You know, Teddy Bridgewater got out there immediately got pulled by a spotter in that first game. You know, for which Dolphins fans have not forgiven. You know, so even the backup quarterbacks have not been able to stay healthy, and so what happens? There's like this cascade effect. Teddy Bridgewater can't stay healthy, so you have Teddy Bridgewater playing some games in place of Tua Tagovailoa, and then you have Skylar Thompson playing some games in place of Tua Tagovailoa, and then you have Teddy Bridgewater playing a game in place of Tua Tagovailoa again. I'm actually this is like game for game what happened in 2022. And then and then you have later in the season Tua goes out against Green Bay, and you have Teddy Bridgewater again against the New England Patriots, and then Skylar Thompson again against the New York Jets, and then Skylar Thompson again in the playoffs. You have this real lack of stability there at the backup quarterback position, and then you look no further to this year. You have Skylar Thompson. He's supposed to be the man coming in for Tua Tagovailoa. He doesn't even last one game. And so now you're playing Tim Boyle, who just got there, and is an embarrassment. He is a joke. He wasn't even good in college. Like he was a terrible quarterback in college, and he's a 30-year-old project quarterback in the NFL who has never played well. And so you got Tim Boyle coming out, and then the very next game you got Tyler Huntley come out, and Tyler Huntley plays a couple of games, and then now he injures his shoulder, and then you got Tim Boyle again. And so I think that it is this comedy of the backup quarterbacks being actually even less healthy than the starter, who is kind of an injury-prone quarterback. Let's face it, Tua Tagovailoa, and is going back to college, has been an injury-prone quarterback. So I would boil it down to that and say, no, none of these guys, a lot of these guys shouldn't be in the NFL. And Simon is correct. Skylar Thompson is not an NFL quarterback. Tim Boyle is not an NFL quarterback. Tyler Huntley is arguably maybe, but you're not even seeing their best foot. You're not able to get their best foot forward on any of these guys because of the turmoil and the constant shuffle. So that's probably the biggest thing for anybody not named Tua Tagovailoa who's tried to take snaps from Mike McDaniel.
And more to Mike McDaniel and his play calling, I couldn't believe my eyes when he trotted out Jason Sanders. And tell me what you think of this call, Simon. Trots out Jason Sanders for a 54-yard field goal on 4th and 1 with 5:45 left when a touchdown essentially wins the game. You're running at a 4.7 yard per carry clip. Damn it, don't you even like running fullback dives? What are you doing trusting Jason Sanders to tie it when you have the drive in hand, running it down their throat? You actually had a couple of completions on this drive, too, from Tim Boyle.
Yeah.
And you're trying a 54-yard field goal. And look, every time that I see Jason Sanders trot out there from 50 yards plus, I'm like, flip a coin. You don't know if this is going to go right down the middle with plenty of leg, or it's going to land in my lap. Okay. And sure enough, it hits the upright, and there we go. And now you need desperation. Forget about the final play. But what did you make of Mike McDaniel? Like, he's either extremely aggressive or just dumb. Like, what was he doing there?
Yeah, I mean, I know what he wasn't doing, and that was watching the play. I noted that he couldn't watch. He walked down the sideline in the opposite direction and couldn't even look at what was happening. It was a high snap. And actually, I thought Jake Brady did a pretty good job. But I just what I find amazing. I understand that you can bring this back to a tie ball game with 5 minutes to go, and I understand that you've got to have trust in a guy that can comfortably make 58-yard field goals, but it's a toss of a coin to me with Jason Sanders at this juncture when you're asking him to make field goals like this. But in a dome, there should be no excuse for that miss. And the frustrating thing for me with McDaniel is that he'll go for it on 4th down in ridiculous situations and not get it, and then you could have gone for it on 4th down. But I don't blame him for not putting the ball in the hands of Tim Boyle and thinking that you were going to convert. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, it's one for the English fans here, but you'd have more confidence putting it in the hands of Susan Boyle. I mean, Jesus.
Well, she sings pretty good.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't blame him going for the field goal, actually. I think tie game, defense is playing well, try and get it to overtime, and hope that, Tim Boyle pulls off a bit of magic. Who am I kidding? But you know what I mean. I don't blame the decision. I don't have a massive issue with the decision. I think
I actually did.
about the kicker.
I shared Alf's belief there. I think that counting on a 54-yard field goal from Jason Sanders in that situation, either way, listen, you don't make the fourth down, you're just giving the ball back to them. You do make the fourth down, then that'd be great. You missed the field goal, you gave the ball back to them anyway, and in an even better field position. So I think that what's really interesting here is Mike McDaniel is like, bad decisions make for more bad decisions. And we've seen that all season long. Like, we've seen like sort of the start of the chain happen with a bad decision, and then it puts them in a spot where they make an even worse decision, and so on and so forth. Well, Mike McDaniel was manic with the fourth down calls at the beginning of the year, right? And was going for everything, even on his own field, and not making anything, right?
The opening, Simon, Chris, the opening drive of the football season, he went for it on 4th and 8 at the 47-yard line.
Yeah, and that's not even the worst of them. That's not even top 3 of the worst. That he went for toward the beginning of the year. He was manic, absolutely manic, going for it on 4th down. Got burned for it majorly, and now what's happened? He's gotten super conservative because the pendulum has swung the other way. Right. So your early mistakes have caused you to overcorrect and now make more mistakes the other way. Now, I get what Simon's saying. I wouldn't want to put the game in the hands of Tim Boyle either. But you can put the game in the hands of, like, say, some of your talented running backs or something like that. And they're the offensive line. Don't look now, but the offensive line's run blocking has been good this year. That's a secret that nobody wants to talk about because everything is shit, right?
Yes.
The offensive line's run blocking has been, and I don't mean like, maybe, and I mean like genuinely good. And so, you could have put those fullback dives, you could have put that in the hands of a running back, just running, not a toss play, but just running a lead power or something like that. I wonder if they're not really diversified enough in the kinds of runs that they have, but they clearly don't have the confidence in it that they probably should. But I think that, bad decisions make for more bad decisions down the road, because you get burned on one, and then you get burned on, we call it in my business, you get, you bought high and you sold low, you got whipsawed, I mean, that's the way it happens.
Yeah. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, one acquisition that I think has gone under the radar, and we'll talk a little bit about the defense here and finish up. We're not giving out game balls. We don't give out game balls for losers. Remember that. But one acquisition that I think went under the radar, and I wanted him in March, but I think he's played pretty well. And I think his tape is kind to him in this past game, was Tyus Bowser. What did you think of the play on the edge against because everybody wants to point to the Chop Robinson missing that tackle in the backfield, and then it going for an 11-yard gain toward the end of the game, and
which he himself circled back and tackled.
Yes. Yeah. But I thought that the edge play was, you got to understand, like, this is a guy that can only beat you by escaping the pocket and running all over your defensive backs, as you saw Kader Kohu unfortunately try to take on Anthony Richardson head on, and it didn't go well for him. He did make the tackle, which is a good thing, but that's the only way he can beat you. So these guys have to be mindful of pinching in and keeping him in the pocket. I thought that the edge players, including Mo Kamara's 16 snaps, I thought that they were pretty good in this game. And using Calais Campbell on the edge, I thought they were pretty good. What did you think of their play, Simon, since they were pretty stressed in this game with no Emmanuel Ogbah?
Yeah, I thought they were fine. I thought Bowser was fine. I mean, the player that I like watching, actually, who always impresses me, is Deshaun Hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a really good player. I think he's a really solid rotational guy. He's tough. He's hard. He works hard. He never gives up on a play. He is fundamentally sound. I thought he played really well. I mean, you know, Sealer leads the way. Campbell, 60% of the snaps yesterday, 37 snaps. I thought he played well. I was interested that Jones played so much inside, 44% of the snaps, and the Quentin Bell is becoming a little bit like your favorite tight end who you wanted to give a game ball to, even though he only had one career catch. What's happened to the disappearing Quentin Bell and his 9 snaps? It's
He has, yeah. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, it's really down.
The
he is
actual
the
game
Tanner
started.
Conner
That's
of,
what happened.
Yeah, he is the Tanner Conner of defense.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, nobody really stood out in terms of the edges, and it's hard when you don't have Ogba as well, who's again had a really good season. But I did think Deshaun Hand was, apart from Campbell and Sealer who turn up every week, I thought Hand again played really well.
Yeah. Chris?
I thought on the edge they didn't ask much of the edge players. They were playing team defense. I mean, I said it in the preview. We kind of tossed around the ball on this, and Alf, you and I, when we were doing the preview for this game. Do you blitz Anthony Richardson? Do you sit back? My personal opinion was because of the smaller edges that Miami has, and without Emmanuel Ogbah, it's really small now. Between Chop Robinson's the biggest edge, I think, in that game, and he kind of looks smallish on the field. So I think that with that, you got to blitz him, and sure enough, they get in the game. They blitzed him. They blitzed Anthony Richardson on 19 out of 29 snaps. So they clearly wanted to crowd him, not give him the ability to spin out and get some open vision and create big plays. But what that means is they didn't really put a lot on the edge players. In fact, Chop Robinson, I believe I keyed it a couple of times, and I don't know exactly how many times he did it. I think maybe 4 or 5 times. He pulled back into coverage actually, and what that does, and this is something I keyed before the game too, is that you set him up in a short coverage area. You can try and take away a blitz beater. If you're blitzing the guy a lot and you pull Chop back, you can take away a blitz beater at least in the short term. And then that also becomes a good setup zone for him to keep an eye on Anthony Richardson scrambling, and he actually did that on several plays in the game. And so the edges were about like playing team defense. The guys who were doing the work, I think, were the blitzers and the interior guys, Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell, and so on and so forth. So the edges weren't really a big factor in this game, but overall, you can't really fault team defense in this game, I think. No, not perfect, not a shutout, nothing like that, but also you're not getting help from the offense. So I don't think that you're going to be in a situation where your defense is going to pitch that shutout or have the perfect game unless you're getting some help from the offense. So I think the edges played okay. They weren't asked to do much. This was not one of Chop Robinson's finest games. He had that missed tackle in the backfield, which if he had had it, then it probably would have been a better game for him. But Quentin Bell is completely dropped off and isn't even playing anymore. I thought Mo Kamara played some good snaps though. And that's one that I'd look to in the future. He's a smallish guy, and they're already kind of small on the edges. But he does have a fair all around game, and he can rush the passer. He's the most polished pass rusher, of anybody out there that was out there in this game, because Emmanuel Ogbah was not. So I think he is a more polished, and always has been a more polished pass rusher than Chop Robinson. So look a little bit forward to that in the future, seeing a few more snaps of his, just depending on where things go with health all the way around.
All right. I think we can call it here. And one small comment we could talk about leading into Thursday's preview of what should be Tua Tagovailoa's return. We gotta have some comments on this. Tua's chippy is a word. Pissed off, I would say, is another. I guess I'll go around the horn here. Simon Tua's availability today. I thought that it was passive. You said he was passive aggressive. I thought he was aggressive when it came to the offense because he kind of said, well, he had two quotes. He had the one that I talked about earlier about you can't expect all these quarterbacks to do this with the footwork. But he said, look, we have to assess the play calls that are coming in, and if we believe that the play calls are leading us to scoring every time we have the ball, then that's on us. But if it's not, it's on them. So he essentially put everybody on notice. Look, I'm pissed off, and I'm not too happy with anybody, and especially the media, of which I probably hate. to not put it on any finer uh tone or phrase for this. Simon, your thoughts on Tua's chippy press conference?
I thought, I thought he was borderline rude. Actually, I don't think it was a great look.
Yeah, rude. Rude is a good word for that.
I mean, I said something again to you on the WhatsApp that I wouldn't say here, but I found it belligerent, rude. Like he answers the question. Cantankerous. Yeah, I mean, coruscating. He looked at what and the chef's kiss of it, if that's the way you want to look at it, is that he answers the question, doesn't really look at the person, and then sort of looks away as if to say, I'm done with you. Like, and there's
I
like
believe he called one guy boss, and whenever he
Yeah.
calls you, and this, I don't know if this is a culture thing or not, but if Samoan calls you boss, watch out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Chris, I thought he was pissy, and he clearly hates the media.
Yes.
He clearly had something to say in this conference. I used the metaphor. He was a coiled spring heading into this press conference, and some of the things that Mike McDaniel said earlier suddenly made a lot of sense and clicked into place because Mike McDaniel has seemed uncomfortable in addressing a lot of these questions, and particularly today, he basically served up Tua to the media and was like, on several of the questions, he's like, that sounds like a great question to ask Tua. And so they did, and Tua was on the warpath, I think. And so I think that like you said, I think he was rude. I mean, to a little bit in some ways, which I don't care. Like somebody asked him, what have you learned throughout the process? That it's not good to get concussions. I mean, that's okay.
Are you wearing the
all right.
Guardian cap? No. Why
No,
not? Don't
why not?
know.
Personal choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Walk away.
and it's like just a bunch of it is what it is, or did you have discussions? Because somebody asked him a very honest question too, like, and I thought that this was a very sincere question because we know he said so that he's had the discussions about retirement after 22, right? With his family and such. And so somebody brought that up and said, you have said that, you contemplated that your family discussions contemplated retirement after the previous, did you have those sorts of discussions this time? A little bit of meandering, but exact quote, nope, none of that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then saying the same, like, first off, revealing that he's been throwing for 5 weeks. That's a problematic answer, first off, especially when you said that some of it has been to OBJ, which suggests to me that is not with the Dolphins that he's been throwing, not always, not actual team activity, let's just say, kind of problematic. And as far as taking your concussion protocol seriously and so on and so forth. And then the final answer at the end, with, you could get into a car crash, or, comparing the concussions and CTE attached issues to, a broken bone or a sprained ankle. And quotes like, well, I'm willing to play the odds, or, this is,
I love this
game. I love this game, and I love it to the death of me.
Maybe
these are sound bites that the NFL does not want to hear. Coming from,
I think it was Marcel asked him about, when other people, commentators, other players were saying that you should retire. How was that? And he just the most dismissive look and answer when he just said essentially, wasn't listening, Chief, and then just kind of looked the other way.
At least he didn't call him sport.
He just said, seriously, fuck you, Marcel, fuck you.
Yeah, it was really chippy, and I don't mind the chippiness. In some ways, I do mind that the same guy at the podium that we saw today, to me, is the same guy that has potentially hidden concussions from training staff. The infamous stumble against Buffalo, a couple of years ago. He's the same guy that got back from being hospitalized against Cincinnati, and the first game back lowered his helmet and his shoulder directly into a Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker. And just said, kind of shrugged it off and said, "Oh, I apologize, coach, for that. I just needed that." He's the same guy that lowered his helmet again into Damar Hamlin and got another concussion. He's the same guy that I'm not sure that you really trust, to be honest, with this concussion issue. And I think that people don't realize that, it's his body, it's his life. He can do whatever he wants. He's not my father. He's not my son. He's not my brother. He's not my partner. He could do whatever the hell he wants. I don't, none of us have a say in this. None of us, whatever. But I also happen to know that in the intersection of where business and risk management goes, that some of his attitude on this could be a problem with a capital P. Yeah. And so he's going to watch himself when he finds himself circling back to the offseason and the Miami Dolphins are playing hardball on telling him that he needs to drop those guarantees for the 26 and 27 seasons and just make them straight salaries. Or otherwise he's facing like actual early cut, cap ramifications be damned. When he's facing that, maybe he could have been a little bit more of an adult about some of this. I think, and I think that I'm not saying that is what will happen, but we have 11 games left and there's a lot of football left and there's a lot that remains to be seen. But it is certainly conceivable, because if the Dolphins start to get to a point where not only do they think that he is a concussion risk, but he's in a special concussion risk because he hit a concussion against the Buffalo Bills 2 years ago, may have hit another one against the Green Bay Packers, and they only discovered it because, the next day they're asking him about plays and he can't remember anything about the goddamn game. If that level of trust is out, then he's out. And so he needs to watch himself on that. And I understand that he entered this with a chip on his shoulder, and clearly very angry at some people, including, the media and the way that he's been portrayed and stuff like that. And I get that, but he also needs to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah. And in the transcript, I guess I don't know if they meant to do this or not, but they put a comma after a part of this, and it reads like this. Okay. This is the last question when they asked him about how much more information than we do, how much risk do you think you're taking to play again? He says, well, how much risk do we take when we get up in the morning to drive to work? And it's a question mark, right? And then in the transcript, it says, get into a car crash. I don't know. Was he actually telling the media to get into car crashes there?
No, I mean, but that one, but he can, but the worst part about that answer, and I actually transcribed that myself for our OnlyFans people. But the worst part about that answer to me is he compared it to like a broken bone or a sprained ankle. And I think that's a little bit, especially maybe, and he kind of takes issue with the way, I think he takes issue with the way the NFL are treating concussions. I think he does. I think he genuinely, we don't talk about this with boxers, we don't talk about this with hockey players.
And we actually do though. Yeah. But the problem is that we actually do.
Yeah. And so I think he genuinely takes issue with this. And I probably the worst answer was like, he was asked the question, would you defy doctors' timelines and recommendations? Or would you always defer to the doctors' timelines and recommendations? And he's like, Man, I just think it's based on whatever the individual feels. I'm going to read this. Man, I just think it's based off whatever that individual feels. If you feel like you can go, you can go. I just think that it has only become a thing because of what ended up happening 2 years ago for myself within the sport. I hate that it's happened, but we don't look at boxers the same way. We don't look at hockey players the same way. But I just think that because of what happened and the magnitude that it had, that it's become more of an issue here in the league. That first start of the answer, man, I just think based on whatever the individual feels, if you feel like you can go, you can go. I'm sorry, that's the wrong answer. Like, that is an incorrect, wrong answer. He sounds
like he's got CTE already.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to go there, but he ain't personality wise. He ain't the player that he was 2 years ago.
No,
I'll say that.
That is a very good point. That is a very good point. He is not the same guy.
Yeah, he's what was the word we used? Cantankerous,
belligerent,
belligerent. Yes,
any number of words.
Yeah, you could see it. You could see it coming. It's been coming for a while. He used to go from a no snippy answer press conference to a one snippy answer press conference to today setting fire to the press room. So yeah, I guess we're getting pissed off too every time that he talks to the media now.
He plays well pissed off. So pencil in a W against the Cardinals.
Well, here's one thing that I'm going to ask on Thursday, and damn it, I'm ready to go over. The Dolphins have scored 40 points in his absence. Does he beat that number on Sunday? Hey, Cardinals are the worst defense in the NFL. Keep that in mind.
I would tell the listeners, tune in and find out. We'll answer that.
We will talk about that on Thursday. But if you want to talk about this game and you want to talk to us and you want to talk to like-minded Dolphin fans, go to discord.gg/onlyfins and you become a member there for $3 a month. That is our Discord server. It's a lot of fun. Today I showed all the wide open people that Tyler Huntley missed to our vetted members. Join discord.gg/onlyfins. All right, that's it. There's no more. We will talk about Cardinals, Dolphins on Thursday. But till then.
Thanks for listening to 3 Yards Per Carry. You can subscribe via iTunes, on Podbean, or your usual podcast provider.
Are you prepared to care for an aging loved one at home? Bathing, meals, medication, plus everything else needed to stay out of the hospital? You don't have to shoulder these responsibilities alone. Hi, I'm Debbie Savage, owner of Responsive Home Healthcare. For 30 years, our employees have provided dependable and loving personal care at home. Quality of life is our highest priority. We're proudly owned and operated by nurses. Call us today at 954-486-6440 or visit our website, responsive-homecare.com.
Food isn't just delicious, it can also change your life. Tune into Beyond the Plate, a new podcast presented by Food for the Poor. Danny and Paul host inspired conversations that nourish the soul. Hear amazing stories of transformation from those in the nonprofit sector. For National Hispanic Heritage Month, Food for the Poor is highlighting the incredible contributions of the Hispanic community. Sign up for Beyond the Plate Best Bite VIP content at foodforthepoor.org/podcast.